I'm 21. I work a normal 9 to 5, and the second I finish work, I start working on trying to leave it. Not because I hate my job, not because I think I'm too good for normal work, but because I generally cannot accept that this is all life is supposed to be. Wake up, commute, work, come home tired, repeat that for 40 years. And honestly, the thought scares the shit out of me. So right now, this is what my life actually looks like. I work full time, then outside of work, I'm building a rent-to-rent business, investing every month, paying off debt aggressively, doing viewings, speaking to landlords, taking calls, learning business in real time. And I'll be honest, social media makes this look way more glamorous than it actually is, because most of it is stress, uncertainty, awkward conversations, failed deals, and constantly second-guessing yourself. For anyone that doesn't know, rent-to-rent is basically where you rent a property from a landlord, then rent the rooms out individually and profit the difference. That's the simple version anyway. And the reason I chose it is because realistically, buying property at 21 in the UK is brutal. You need huge deposits. House prices are ridiculous, and the safe part doesn't even feel safe anymore. You can go uni, get debt, get a decent job, and still struggle to move out. And I think that's what pushed me into all of this in the first place. I wanted options. That's the word that keeps coming back to me lately. Options. Because I don't hate my 9 to 5. I actually appreciate it a lot. It gives me stability, income, and experience. Without it, I wouldn't even be able to tempt this stuff. But I also know deep down, I don't want my entire life to just become work, weekend, repeat. And I think loads of people in their 20s feel that right now. And the weird thing about trying to build something while working normally is nobody really sees it happening. To everyone else, you just look like another guy going to work. Meanwhile, internally, you're living this complete double life. I'm checking Rightmove during lunch breaks, watching property videos at night, replying to landlord messages after work, going to viewings tired out of my mind, hoping maybe this one finally works. And honestly, some days it gets draining because social media only shows the success, the keys, the freedom. They never show traveling an hour to a viewing that goes nowhere, landlords ghosting you, deals collapsing last minute, staring at spreadsheets wondering if this is even making sense. That's actually most of it. And honestly, the business itself is still very shaky. We've hit breakeven now, which is a massive milestone for us. Because at one point this whole thing just felt like money out, stress up, and constant uncertainty. So the fact it's even standing on its own now feels good. But nobody tells you about the paranoia that comes with it either. Like genuinely, there are nights where you're laying there thinking, please don't let something go wrong overnight. And when you're responsible for a property and tenants, your brain starts imagining every possible disaster. Boiler issues, leaks, tenants falling out, something breaking. I remember one time the front door lock literally broke and tenants got locked outside the house, and suddenly at like 10 p.m, you're trying to sort out locksmiths and figure everything out while still working a normal job the next morning. That's a side nobody posts online. But at the same time, there's also a positive side to all of this. Because when you actually start moving, opportunities weirdly start flowing towards you. You meet more people, you start getting introduced to opportunities, conversations lead somewhere. And now we're potentially looking at taking on a second property already, which is mad to think about considering where I was mentally like a year ago. And I think that's something I'm slowly realizing. Nothing changes when you stay comfortable. Things only start happening when you actually outside doing stuff. And bro, one of the hardest parts at the start wasn't even business itself. It was confidence. Picking up the phone, calling agents, calling landlords, because when you're young, you automatically feel like nobody takes you seriously. I remember sitting there before some calls overthinking everything. Do I sound too young? What if I sound stupid? What if they ask something I don't know? And eventually I realized something important. Confidence doesn't come first. Repetition does. You do enough uncomfortable things, and eventually your brain starts treating them like danger. And I think this is what eventually pushed me into taking bigger risks financially as well. Because after a while, I realized I was spending too much time trying to feel ready, waiting until I had more money, more confidence, more certainty. Meanwhile, time's still moving. So eventually I made the decision to invest into mentorship and speed the whole process up. I basically traded being debt-free for speed. And yeah, the decision scared me because 10K debt at 21 feels very real when you actually owe the money, especially when everyone around you is just living normally, going out, buying clothes, financing cars. Meanwhile, you're voluntarily adding pressure onto yourself, hoping it pays off later. But I knew doing nothing was making me miserable. And eventually the fear of staying the same became bigger than the fear of taking the risk. And something I've become very aware of recently is lifestyle inflation, because I can already see how easy it is to trap yourself. Every pay rise becomes a better car, more finance payments, more expensive habits, random subscriptions. And before people realize, they need thousands every month just to maintain their lifestyle. That genuinely scares me, because freedom and looking rich are completely different things. Someone driving a finance BMW while living paycheck to paycheck isn't free. They just look successful online. And I think social media has completely blurred the line between wealth and appearances. And this is where everything starts connecting for me. The debt, the investing, the business, the 9 to 5. It's all part of the same bigger picture. I'm basically trying to slowly buy back more control over my life. Less debt, more investments, more income streams, more options. And this is also why I'm investing pretty aggressively right now as well. Mainly into US tech stocks, S&P 500 type funds, long-term growth investments. Because realistically, I don't think my generation can rely on one income source anymore. Not in the UK anyway. Everything's just too expensive. The cost of living is insane, and the safe path feels shakier every year. So in my head, this job gives me stability, the business gives me upside, and investing gives me long-term leverage. Because ideally, I want the option to retire early, maybe by 35. Not because I don't ever want to work again, but because I want work to become optional. That's the difference. I don't dream of doing nothing all day. I just don't want my survival tied to selling my time forever. And honestly, once that thought gets into your head, it's hard to ignore it. If I'm being entirely honest with you, I still don't fully know where all of this will end up. Some days I feel confident, other days I question the whole thing completely. I think that's probably normal in your 20s now, because there is no clear path anymore. Everyone's just trying to build stability in a world that feels more and more unstable. But I do know one thing. Doing absolutely nothing definitely wasn't going to change my life either. So for now, I'll keep working, keep building, keep trying to buy back my time little by little. And hopefully one day, all of the struggle actually makes sense looking back.